There is nothing like delicious coffee and working on mind-blowing next level technology. Guys, that's the dream. We're living it right now. Let's get into this. So previously, we basically tested this out to see if it works, and we talked about the benefits, and hopefully this becomes clear to you now. Like, yes, it's great to have AI agents sending emails, automating things on social media. You got to log in, check your workflow, but it's so much better to just take out your phone like a human and send a message or make a call or a voice note. And yes, we are going to talk about voice notes, and just ask what you need, right? Just say, hey, we need to paint the restaurant a new color. What colors work best for pizza restaurants in general? Okay, just an example. You're talking to your AI assistant. You're trying to get some help here to figure it out. Red, okay. Yellow, that's the cheerful color. Earth tones, terracotta. Sounds like mozzarella, Italian. Terracotta. Green, orange, okay. So it's just great to be able to do that. Now, of course, we're not looking at actionable requests. We're talking about research and discussion. But once it's connected, the next step is at your fingertips. All right, so that works. The benefits should be clear. Let's move on to taking a look at what we're going to be building. So this is the N8N workflow. Everything works with inputs and outputs. In computer science, when it comes to software, you have to think of things in terms of inputs, parameters, and outputs, functions. Technically speaking, so much of what you do with computer science is functional, whether or not the code is happening behind the hood. In this case, it is. But N8N is awesome because what it is, it's a workflow automation tool that allows us to connect these applications and services like WhatsApp, these AI agent modules that are built in, and then just automate these things together. But everything that we connect, these nodes or modules, they basically do what? They receive data as input from the preceding node. So think of each module here, each one of these shapes. And if you're confused about node, just think of it as a fundamental building block of the workflow. So each one's its own building block. And if that's confusing, really simply, each node is representing a specific action, right? Like the action here is receiving a message. That's why it's a trigger on WhatsApp. The action here is clearing out the data we don't want. The action here is the AI agent processing that data, and then the action over here is returning an output, okay? But I'm jumping ahead. I just want to clarify what node is so that I can illustrate the point that everything with N8N, everything that we're doing, and it's always important to save, by the way, because this is happening on the browser, so always be saving, the ABS of learning with me. But here we go, guys. Everything on N8N that we're going to be working with, every time we add a service, we add a node, we create a new action, these nodes, you have to think of them as receiving data from previous nodes in the workflow. So if receives the data from the WhatsApp trigger. All right, the AI agent over here, oops, okay, we don't need that. The AI agent over here receives the data from if. The AI agent sends that data out to this model, which is our OpenAI ChatGPT, to some memory, which controls how many messages our ChatGPT should remember of in the messages. We're gonna look at all that, guys. So that doesn't matter if we're going quickly through that because we're gonna see it slowly. And then that also sends it out over here. So N8N has the magical ability to have a multi-data flow, cyclical nature that makes it stand out from other very successful or prominent workflow automation tools like Zapier or Make. All right, that's why we're using this. This is the bomb. We're using the best because why settle for anything less? So inputs and outputs. And you can say, well, wait, whoa, Clarion, the WhatsApp trigger, where is the WhatsApp trigger getting its input? That comes in from the actual messages on WhatsApp. It's the trigger that we set up, right? If I click test and I go to WhatsApp and I say yo, it's going to get that message yo. So it's pulling in data. The trigger in the workflow automation is the starting point. It's what is going to trigger this entire workflow. And in this case, what we care about are messages, right? We're sending messages to our agent. And you see that yo-yo, there it is in the body, all right? But I don't want to do too many spoilers because it's really exciting. This is fun, guys. It's going to be cool. We're going to deal with the Facebook headache because, yeah, it's like dealing with the Death Star, major corporate entities. But we're going to fly through that, and then we're going to get to the Tattoo-In, the reward on Tattoo-In, which is, you know, I don't know, our freedom to build amazing AI agents on WhatsApp. All right, guys? So input and outputs. And we're going to see what that means as we build. But if I double click on WhatsApp trigger again, notice how we have 3 boxes essentially. We got a box on the left, see where my mouse is? We got a small little box in the middle, and then another box on the right, right? So what are these boxes? This box is always going to be our input, all right? Or it pulls in the event from what was happening before. In this case, what was happening before was the message, the yo-yo. But a better example is if I go to the middle, or even better than that, if I go to the second module, if, what's this doing? This is taking in the input of our WhatsApp trigger. And so that might be scary to look at schema, table, JSON. It's all just different ways to look at the data, but it's very basic. It's just the data that we're getting from the input. WhatsApp trigger, contacts, messages, and what we really care about is this body here, because that's basically the juice, the content of where we want to be discussing and getting that information from our agent. So that's the input on the left. In the middle, we have the parameters. So the parameters are the conditions of what we want to do with this information. How do we want to change it? In this case, as we're going to see later on in these videos, well, we want to filter out to make sure that there's a body. Because if we're getting weird WhatsApp information and there's no body, we don't want to process that. We don't want to waste our time processing that information. And then on the right, last but not least, the hero of our story, the Captain Nemo. Is it Captain Nemo? I don't know. But the Finding Nemo of our story, it's a really bad reference, I know, is the output. And that becomes the input in the next node, but it's the output in this node. And if I click on test setup, we have this input, so it's going to be able to trigger what happened over here. And voila, it's going to say, hey, if there is a text body, that's what this code is here. We're going to learn how that works. But if there's a body, and there is, now output that information, and it's outputting it because it exists. And this output now becomes the new input of the next node. All right, that's how N8N works. That's how this system is working. All right, so those are the fundamentals. If that's easy peasy for you, just hit the fast forward button, skip over to once we start building. In the next lesson, let's stop here. In the next lesson, let's finish this overview. You know, it's not that complex, really. We've already even brushed on some of the key characteristics of understanding how this works, like having that WhatsApp trigger and then seeing the workflow as we move forward. Let's have a brief, clear understanding of what this is in the next video, and then let's just start building, because it is easy to talk about. Most YouTube videos will talk about it or they'll go through it super fast, but that's not why you're here. On Udemy, what I'm trying to do is take very nicely built blueprints and go through them step by step so you're really learning. And coffee and good stuff. I'll see you there, guys, in the next lesson.